the challenge of agriculture as it looks at the moment. Because when you look through the figures and the statistics, it indicates that despite agriculture being the backbone of our economy, we are not doing very well. When it comes to even our exports, we are not doing well. We are importing a lot of food into this country, almost worth about $4 billion. A lot of food in terms of when it comes to wheat, rice, edible oils. So we have a tall order in terms of going forward. And food security sometimes is threatened when it comes to maize production. But the last season has proved, for instance, that with good interventions, like the subsidized fertilizer, despite the problems, we can still have food security, where we produce over 48 million bags, and farmers are able to, and the country is able to have semblance, a good food security. So I would first of all approach food security as one of the key areas in terms of making sure the farmers have, when approved, the farmers have those inputs, especially the fertilizer, as indicated before. The food security is also about making sure that those inputs are delivered on time and they are good quality. And the other issue, which is related to your second question, is apart from inputs, farmers need services. And these services are to be provided according to the Constitution. These are functions which are devolved, like extension. Extension, I would dare say that where I started those years ago, I feel pained to see what is happening. Extension, as we know it, is dead.
Completely.
Yes, it is dead. You go to the farmers have left to be their own devices. They don't know what to do. And agriculture is about technology. Without the appropriate technology, you can do very little in terms of productivity. So this issue about engaging the counties will be, if I'm approved, will be one of my greatest and clearest priority, in that I will use all the structures which are provided, the intergovernmental structures, to engage the counties, to see what we can do, capacity build them, to fill the gaps. I was also thinking about even what is happening with the health sector, the model where the national government has the health promoters. Can we have agri-promoters working in the counties from national government? So those are areas which will be, as it has been suggested by Honorable Kosin, we can have a summit where we can dwell on these issues with the agriculture committees of the House, so that we move forward. Because without extension and delivery of services, we are just doing the margins. We are not doing very, very much. We need support to our farmers. Thank you very much.
You are aware that formulation of agricultural policy, even where it's devolved, is still vested in you. So you have to formulate proper policies and cascade them down to the counties. Gikaria?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Just want to follow up on what Kosin was saying on devolution in agriculture. There are so many state agencies and regional developments which are duplicating what is being done at the county level. My question is, what concrete plans are you going to put in place to avoid that duplicity of functions and wastage? Secondly, unemployment is a huge concern in this country. What policies are you intending to bring to the ministry to encourage the young Kenyans to venture into agricultural activity as a form of employment and engagement in terms of to reduce the unemployment aspect in the country? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Gikaria. The duplication is because one of the biggest challenges in every sector is coordination. If you don't have good coordination, the duplication will occur. For instance, I'm sure, and if I'm approved, the sector which I'm going to the ministry has about 36 parastatals, very many of them doing various things. But are they coordinated? Are they tuned to the priorities of the sector? I think that is my challenge as the incoming CS, if I am approved, to make sure that they are tuned to what is the priorities of the sector. Because I think some of them are not, they are doing their mandate and they are semi-autonomous, but we need to work as a team, to work towards a certain goal. So apart from coordinating with counties, there are also inter-ministerial coordination which is required to make sure that those parastatals and agencies are working towards the laid down priorities. Employment. Agriculture is the biggest sector in our economy. I'm quite aware of that. And without agriculture absorbing some of our youth, it will be a very big task for the economy to do so. So we will be, if I'm approved in this by this committee, I will endeavor to make sure that the youth are taken care of, especially by when we are implementing all the interventions which are identified under the bottom-up transition, the better. Be it in leather, be it in dairy, be it in the crops like rice and everything, the value chains, all those value chains, we will get the nodes where the youth have to come in to create jobs for them and to make sure that they are meaningful jobs where they can be engaged right from the grassroots all the way. So the value chains approach is the way to go, and I will promote it and make it very clear that we are even monitoring how the youth are getting whether the youth are getting engaged. Thank you.
Honorable Mary Mercy.
Thank you, Chair.
Sorry, let me take
Chair,
Naisula first.
Oh, okay.
I skipped you.
Oh, okay.
Sorry,
Thank
Mary.
you. Thank you, Speaker. Dr. Karanja, listening to you and the comments that most of my colleagues have raised about agriculture being devolved, and even you saying that the extension services of the counties are dead, agriculture being devolved, and even you saying that the extension services of the counties are dead. It is because the Ministry of Agriculture at the national level, you're also involving yourself in devolved matters than doing your work, which should mostly be policy, and collaborating with the counties to see that those policies are implemented and those extension services are working. Because I do not understand why the county governments are providing seeds, they are doing, they are providing all that to the farmers, but fertilizer, you keep it at Kilimo. Is it a cash cow for the minister, for the PS, for the cartels there? Why are you leaving fertilizer at the national level instead of dealing with matters policy, which is your main core mandate? And when you talk about functions being devolved, resources should then follow those functions so that then the county governments are able to work and not the money remaining here in the capital in Nairobi. The second issue is the issue of livestock farming. We talk about coffee sector reforms, tea sector reforms, even pyrethrum and cotton have a board. Livestock we do not have in this country. People who wake up every morning thinking and implementing issues to do with livestock. Botswana is one of the best countries in livestock farming, implemented by Kenyans. They're the ones who went to do livestock issues in Botswana. So I want to know what you're going to do to see to it that livestock farming is taken seriously. Instead of taxing Kenyans, make money through livestock farming. Lastly, on the Livestock Bill 2024, what will you do as a Cabinet Secretary to communicate properly what it is all about, because we are already seeing a lot of things flying right, left, and center? What strategies will you put in place to ensure you communicate to the public efficiently on the Livestock Bill 2024 and taking their views in? Thank you.
Yes, nominee.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Raisuda. The issue about, yes, interfering with the mandate of the national government and the intergovernmental. I would like to say that if I'm nominated, approved by this committee, I'm a firm believer in devolution. As I said earlier, if you want sustainable development of agriculture, the counties have to take their role seriously, and they have to work. They have to work. There is no other way. I'm a development economist, and I know that if you don't have structure, institutional framework to support you to do a sustainable development, it will never work. So the counties have to take their mandate. They have to take their laws, give those services. The national government have to take its role of the ministry where I'm going, if I am approved, the role of policy, the role of regulatory, and also research. Those are the mandates which are to the national government. But the counties have to take that role. And I will do whatever will be in my power to make sure that those delineation and that it becomes very clear. In terms of even fertilizer, that's why I said eventually, gradually, the way to go is to make sure that you decentralize. The procurement should not be done centrally. It should be done with agro dealers. Those are business people who can be able to do procurement, and they do it as part of their business. The government can come in and subsidize and give the vouchers. So as I indicated, and I would like to repeat again, I am a firm believer in that issue about sustainable development through counties. Livestock. Yes, livestock is a very critical area. Is one of the critical areas because if I'm approved, I'll have two state departments: agriculture and livestock. And livestock has a great potential in terms of being able to the livelihoods, especially in ASAL areas. And Honorable Member Isuda is to say that I'm lucky that when I'm coming in, if I come in, there is a livestock bill which has been published, and the livestock policy which has been published. So the livestock bill is trying to cure the lacuna which was there, in that we did not have agencies which are promoting livestock matters in the country. So it will create, for instance, try to regulate what is happening in breeding, animal feeds, which members know that there are a lot of issues with animal feeds, quality and others. Create a livestock marketing board, which will be promoting livestock. A research organization dedicated to livestock, although it is between CARO. And institutes. I was surprised to learn that some of the institutes in livestock, like Haiti, which we know, don't have legal status. They are created by. So the livestock bill is trying to do that. And there are issues which are coming through, I know, misinformation, which you would be dealing with, so that when it comes for the necessary hearings and the public hearing, those issues are dealt with. So I think I will give it a lot of priority, the livestock bill, and so that by the time, maybe by next year, we will have some of these institutions in place. Thank you.
Marina.
Thank you, Chairman. My question to the nominee. The country has suffered recurrent drought, flooding, as occasioned by climate change. In the process, the country has suffered recurrent drought, flooding, as occasioned by climate change. In the process, we've lost a lot of livestock through starvation, millions of livestock. We've also lost crops through flooding. Some are washed away. Even the crops that manage to survive do not perform well because of too much water. My question is, what mitigation measures can you put in place to reduce the loss of livestock during future droughts? What compensation measures or strategies would you be able to put in place? Because we know that we have livestock insurance, at least areas, livestock farmers can be compensated. What about crops? Farmers that lose crops. What are your thoughts? Secondly, in the agricultural sector, we have so many youths who are trained, degrees in agriculture, even PhD in agriculture, extension officer, trained but jobless, so many of them. I don't know if you're aware of that. And we need to be deliberate in employment creation. If you are successful and you become the Minister of Agriculture, what deliberate measures are you going to put in place to ensure that you deliberately placing resources in programs that will create opportunities for these young people? Thank you.
Daud.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. To the nominee, he has mentioned he has been in the coffee sector in the task force. What I would want to put to him is the coffee sector is in turmoil. Prices and theft at the coffee factories are rampant. We need to probably develop new varieties and value addition for coffee. What would be your position on that? Secondly, the Kenya Kwanza government, I believe, they talked about guaranteed minimum returns. And I've seen you have worked with the Kilimo Biashara as well. What would be your take on guaranteed minimum returns for all our products? Lastly, there is a bill I'm co-sponsoring, the Livestock Theft Bill, which is in Parliament. Apparently, the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock has got what is coming up, but instead of them bringing it to Parliament, they say that has to stop before we bring ours. So if you do get confirmed, would you be willing even to be assisted by members of Parliament bringing bills and not stopping bills because the ministry is going to bring? When it is going to bring, we do not know. So those are the few things I would want you to answer.
Go ahead, Dr. Karanja.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Mary, the issue about livestock and climate change. Climate change is a definite threat to agriculture and many other sectors, including energy and others. And it has to be dealt with. Measures have to be taken. And in particular, when you go to livestock, especially where it is practiced in the arid and semi-arid areas, that is where climate change is becoming a big issue due to the persistent droughts. And we have to invest in mitigation and adaptation measures in those areas. For instance, if you go to the northeast counties, Isiolo, Wajir, and others, you realize that over time, the pastoralists have started to realize that pasture conservation is one of the areas which they can invest in. They used to graze and then go. But through interventions, through various programs, you can now see hay being sold in those areas. So some of these mitigation measures are going to be there, especially to change their lifestyle, so that they adopt measures like pasture conservation. And if approved, I am going to promote programs which you do the adaptation especially for livestock sector. For crops, it's also the same. We need measures varieties which are resistant or drought tolerant, varieties which are higher temperature, can withstand higher temperatures. So that, as the docket of research is within my mandate, if approved, I will also emphasize on that. We have also to take, for instance, the Kenya Kwanza agenda of planting trees. That is one area where we need to emphasize, because trees, agroforestry and others, is one of the measures which we can be able to mitigate the effects of the climate change. Then in agriculture, I'll also be working closely, if I'm approved, with my counterparts in irrigation. Our agriculture is rain-fed. It is prone to the vagaries of the weather. So we need to invest where we can, with resources allowing, we need to invest in irrigation so that we expand the area under irrigation. Small-scale irrigation programs, which can be able to support farmers so that they are not caught by this, the issue about climate change. Then I think insurance. At the final end of the day, because this is a risk, we need to emphasize both crop and livestock insurance so that farmers are able to be compensated whenever there is an occurrence of that calamity which occurs. Issue about the youth. I indicated earlier that, yes, I'm quite aware of this particular challenge of jobless youth in the country, in the rural areas and everywhere else. And if I'm approved, my undertaking is that, whatever we are doing in all the value chains, the issue about the youth, women, PWDs, people living with disabilities, will be taken care of. Not just taken care of, but we will go out of our way to make sure that and monitor clearly that we are taking care of the youth, the women, and people with disability. Honorable Dawood, the coffee industry, as you have rightfully indicated, I started my career there as an economist. I have also served in the task force and other. Yes, I know there are issues, very major issues in the coffee industry, including legislative one, the bill, the policy, which are still pending. This will be low-hanging fruits. I will be able to handle them if I'm approved, so that we move forward. New varieties and thefts. I work with collaboration with, especially for theft, I work with the collaboration with the interior, so that we are able to see how best we can handle the coffee thefts. Because the coffee thefts are usually promoted and gotten mainly from maybe insider jobs or people who have licenses who can be able to dispose of the coffee. Because you cannot buy coffee. Where do you take it? It has to be that you have a license, you can be able to dispose. So it is something which, with working together with the Ministry of Interior, we will be able to handle. So I will approach it from the policy point of view, having the policy, and I'm also aware that there is a coffee bill, which is before Parliament or Senate. I'm here to take the position very well. So I'll go ahead and do whatever it takes to make sure that that is done. Minimum guaranteed returns for farmers. This is the campaign and Kenya Kwanza in the plan. It needs to be looked into because it involves a lot of, from an economic point of view, it involves a lot of resources. In terms of if you want to guarantee the coffee, tea, you want to guarantee maize, so this one I would say that if I am approved, I will set up the necessary structures to make sure that I get good professional advice on this particular issue and the best way to go forward. But I know it is very important to our farmers. It was in the plan, the Kenya Kwanza plan, so we have to move forward, but cautiously so that we are not, given our financial situation, that we don't overcommit. The livestock and the bills, I would like to handle it from where you, Honorable Dawood, you said, if I'm approved as a cabinet secretary, working with the National Assembly and Senate and every members of the honorable members, whenever a bill, you don't have to oppose a bill because it is coming from another quarter. If it is something which is good, it is bringing something of value on the table, the best approach will be you look and you consult and you do the consultation so that you agree on a common position. You you improve on what you have. If it is a bill brought by a private member's motion, you see what is bringing on the table. If the ministry has something else to add, you add. So it is a collaborative effort. I would approach it that way.
Ferdinand.
Thank you very much. Dr. Karanja, you have promised, and please go by that promise, that if you are actually approved by this House, then of course you're going to put some workable and various interventions in the system to be able to move forward as a sector, agricultural sector. One, I want to ask you, what are you going to do? We have failed. There are some projects you actually failed. Kalana Gulalu is one of them that this House or that of the Parliament actually put in a lot of efforts, but it is failed. I want you to tell me what you are going to do. Because you are saying the moment we approve you, you're going to get some of the things that have failed. Two, out here, and I think it's a common knowledge, there's a lot of land fragmentation, the cutting land, reducing the workable land. Agricultural land is actually being subdivided. I'm afraid 20 years to come, maybe you and I won't be there. 20 years to come, there'll be no land for cultivation in this country. And I think I had a chance to go to some of the places like Denmark, where land is actually put aside. So what are you going to do about that to be able to at least stop this fragmentation of the land, subdividing? Of course, if I have like 4 children, each one of them must have a piece of land. Lastly and not least, the most important thing is that agriculture. You have promised, and I hope you will live up to your promise. There's irrigation. Irrigation in this country, I don't know who did this, is misplaced. It's in blue economy. What do you irrigate in blue economy? Blue economy is water. Are you going to have an effort to bring it to agriculture? Because irrigation is actually supposed to be irrigating the products, crops, but not the blue economy. Are you going to, again, given by your background, bring it back to agriculture? I think the others, insurance, you have talked about insurance. I don't want to repeat it, but I think the best you will do is that there's a lot of crop failures.
Honorable Ferdinand, irrigation is not in blue economy.
Blue economy?
It's in water.
Water, but water is a blue economy.
No, they're different.
But we want to bring it.
There is a Minister of Mining, Blue Economy and Maritime. Yes.
No, I
Then you
think
have water, irrigation, and sanitation.
let's get Dr. to see your view, because irrigation was in agriculture. It was moved from agriculture. So
You
that's
want
what
him
I'm
to
saying.
grab it back.
Yeah, I want it back. It has to come back, because what do you irrigate in water? No, of course he can, through him, he can bring a motion, whatever it is, if he is approved, to bring it to agriculture, because what it is misplaced. Thank you.
Murugara?
Sorry.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And Dr. Karanja, there is a lot of theory in agriculture, especially to encourage youngsters to study agriculture and economics, with such catchphrases like agriculture is the backbone of the economy of the country. That is in agriculture, and in economics, it's the biggest employer and should be sustained, etc. When you look at the level of unemployment in the country today, why would it be at such high level if it were the greatest employer? It means the policies regarding agriculture vis-a-vis the young people we are educating do not match. Number two, it means the youngsters do not take agriculture to be any form of gainful employment. It's dirty, it doesn't have good income, and all that. What policies would you put in place to ensure that we have a mindset change to the youngsters to know that agriculture can actually be that employer which is income generating? And if we were to do this, then the next question is, we as a country presided over the killing of some of our best cash crops in the country away from coffee and tea, including cotton. Cotton was doing very well in arid and semi-arid areas. But we elected to have Mutumba coming in, as a result of which cotton almost got dissipated. Sunflower, another cash crop, which was doing very well in those areas. We watched as we brought in edible oil from other countries and the crop went down. What policies would you put in place to ensure that cotton, sunflower are revived as our cash crops, which would actually reverse the trend of importation of either very expensive clothes from Turkey, China and everywhere else, or the second-hand clothes which are flocking in from all over the world, and also edible oils that are coming from the Asian countries, while actually we can sustain that ourselves. And not lastly, we have the other food cash crops which we grow. The crops are food, but basically if you check their mode of production, they are cash crops. And I'll give you examples. One of them is gadam sorghum, which is supposed to be consumed by the brewers. It's also a food crop. Another one is the mung beans, the dengu in eastern Kenya. It's supposed to be a food crop, but it is produced as a cash crop by the farmers. The cartels we were talking about are now able to go around it, import those crops from the neighboring countries, as a result of which the prices become extremely miserable and to some extent throw away. What policies would you put in place to ensure that those crops are sustained in the country and their prices are improved so that farmers are encouraged to continually grow these crops for economic purposes? Finally, livestock. Livestock is supposed to be one of the most lucrative agricultural endeavors or enterprises we undertake, including export. But it surprises us that even the quotas we are given, leave alone Europe, which refuses to accept our beef on the basis that, as the Deputy Speaker put it, we use drugs to treat these animals, which drugs are banned in their countries. So when they do their tests, they say this meat does not qualify for our consumption. But the Asian countries are more than willing to accept our beef products. How come, as a country, we are not able to meet our quotas when actually we are capable of even overdoing it because of the areas that are arid and semi-arid? What policies would you put in place to ensure that livestock is also sustained along those lines?
Yes, Dr. Karanja, that's quite a mouthful.
Thank you, Mr.
Can you
Speaker.
respond to all those very important issues from
Yes.
Ferdinand to Morgara?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. From Ferdinand, thank you, Ferdinand, for your Honorable Ferdinand, for your question on the field projects. The Garana Kuraru, I know this has been in the works, has been there.